Welcome to Complexity Made Simple. My name is Paul Allen, and the subject of today's video newsletter, well, I'm locked down like everybody else. You wouldn't expect me to miss the opportunity to talk about COVID-19, and the example I'm going to use here it's one that I go on about in Six Sigma a lot, using the right graphs. So there are lots of different graphs that you could use when you're analyzing your data in Six Sigma, and if you get the right one, people say, how do I know which one is the one to use? Actually, you don't know which one. It's the one that shows you the most information for your problem. That's typically how you choose. So the idea that people know that I should use this diagram and that diagram is nonsense, because sometimes you do a run chart, nothing shows on the run chart. Sometimes you do a histogram, nothing shows on the histogram. Sometimes it shows on a multi-vari chart. Sometimes it shows up on a different chart. You're looking for something you can't see. And that's what the chart is designed to do. So because you can't see it, you can't really know which chart to use. So we're going to talk using a little bit of COVID-19 data. Which chart to use? And when you get the right chart, so much more information is available. Now this video comes out, like everybody else, I've been looking at videos and people passing comment and all the charts that have been coming up and things like that. I listen to all the reporters, all the journalists asking questions, etc, etc. So we're going to have a look at a very particular chart. I watched a video of someone presenting the data about the sweep of this virus around the world, and what they used was a log chart. So there was a log scale here and there was a log scale there. Now lots of people are using the growth chart, so they're effectively going to create this pattern if they let the chart complete itself. And this of course shows the exponential growth of infection rates around the world, and then of course if you get it right, the growth rate dies away and you see the virus decay. Now all the journalists keep asking the question in the UK, and I notice it in the US as well. They all start going, you're not doing as well as Germany, or you're not doing as well as Italy, or you've got more deaths than Italy, you've got more deaths than Spain, you're obviously not doing as well. Do you regret not taking action faster, and all this kind of stuff? Now then, the log graph. Let me show you that graph right here. Because when you look at the log graph, what you notice is everybody is on the same trajectory of infection rate. Nobody is doing anything different. Nobody's doing anything better typically. You can see that China, they fall off this line. So you've got this line on the log, which is effectively the rate of infection, which I think is that one person infects about 2.3 other people. So you've got this kind of infection rate. And you can see everybody, once you plot it on the log scale, which is the number of new cases plotted against the number of total cases. Okay, so I think I got a feeling it's total down here, and I think it's new up there. And you plot it on the log scale, you get this straight line, and you can see, look, everybody's on the same straight line. In other words, they've got exactly the same infection rate. Nobody is beating anybody else. But when you look at absolute values, have you got 10,000 deaths, or you've got 20,000 deaths, or they've only got 8,000 deaths? They must be doing something better. Nobody's doing anything different. The chart that shows it is the log scale. Now the journalists, they're too stupid to look at the statistics and understand statistics properly. Unfortunately, at university, statistics is not a well-taught subject. So you get people who should be much more intelligent about this asking the most stupid questions. The one we're asked about is Germany. Why aren't we doing as well as Germany? Look at the scale. They're exactly the same. They're exactly the same as us. Their infection rate is no better. Now then, who are the people that the journalists should be asking about? Well, in my view, looking at that diagram, Japan. Japan is who we should be looking at. Why should we be looking at Japan? Well, look where they are on the diagram. They're down here, look. Now, by the way, it's just something to say. I think this video was made about 3 weeks ago, so this data is old in that sense. So it was a moment in time, but it was showing that even though Italy and Spain sounded like they were having a terrible time of it and they'd made big mistakes, actually their growth rate was the same as everybody else's growth rate. But who would you really want to talk about? Now, nobody's asking questions about Japan. Why would I want to ask questions about Japan? It's very simple. Japan, look where they are on the graph. They're clearly doing something different to everybody else because they're off that line. Okay, they are off the line. They are off the line very, very early in their infection rates. And here's the killer about Japan. They have the biggest city in the world. I checked the figures before I made this video. They say Tokyo. Can't spell it. Tokyo. 38 million people live around the conurbation of Tokyo. If you are going to infect people, you are going to do it in a conurbation like that, and it is going to spread like wildfire through your population. And yet they are off that line. They are down here somewhere, aren't they? They've come off that line really quickly, Japan. How the bloody hell did they do that? Now they're the people we should be talking to. By the way, London, if you check the figures, I think there's about 10 million people in London. Okay. Now all these journalists, so-called intelligent people, not one of them has asked the question, what can we learn from Japan? Because they've got the biggest city in the world and they seem to have got hold of it. So there's something to learn from that situation that, you know, is completely different to Germany or South Korea or other places. Because if you look, they had an infection rate long into the future compared to the Japanese. So this is the thing about statistics, finding the right graph that tells you the information like Spain has more deaths than us, the United States has more deaths than Spain, the UK has gone above Italy. None of that data tells you good information. The log scale is telling us we're all behaving exactly the same way. We've all got exactly the same infection rate. Nobody's got any kind of fancy technique other than China, lock everybody down. We're locking everybody down. We'll go the way of China eventually. Nobody's come up with anything special. But these guys seem to have done something. That is the power of finding the right graph. And that's my comment on the statistics of COVID-19, because there's some great stuff about there's a triple derivative equation that tells you when this number's going to change and how to figure it out and all sorts of things. So there's some fantastic maths where people are working really hard to help the government to make the right predictions about what to do next. But they would also tell you, those predictions, of course, would also tell you if you're taking some special action that's better than anybody else's. Lots of stuff there that I'm sure over the coming years somebody will analyse it and generate some really great case studies out of this. But for now, the selection of the right graph is so important, because then you get the right information, you ask the right questions, and you solve the problems quicker. That is the power of statistics.